Queens of the DMV, real talk and real estate. And my name is Arnita Greene. And our two co-hosts,
Ariel
and Cher.
Thank you everybody for joining. I am Arnita Greene, your other co-host, and look out to follow us on IG, Queens of the DMV, and YouTube. Listen to our podcast weekly on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Today we will be talking about, is real estate the right hustle for you?
Is it?
Ladies, we always have people that come to us all the time to say that they want to get into the real estate agent, which we love. I mean, to me, there's never enough. I mean, there's a lot of real estate agents out here, but there's always some business. So what do you think what do you say when people ask you, is real estate the right hustle for me, or should I get into real estate?
I actually have to ask them like some key questions, because I think that TV has made real estate agents look a certain way, and it seems like a very glamorous job.
Yep.
When there could be some glamour to it, but it's less glamour than it's portrayed on television or by perception. So like there's definitely key things that, especially if I don't know the person. If I know the person, I can pretty much gauge like, oh, this person only wants to work 20 hours a week. This is definitely not the job for them. If I know the person, then, I have to ask specific questions like, are you a self-starter? Do you need a lot of direction? Because those two things right there, if you're not a self-starter, you're out. If you need a lot of direction, you're probably out too. It's like those two things are key. But also, like, are you entrepreneurial? Because if you're not entrepreneurial, this is definitely not the field for you. And if you're wanting to be entrepreneurial, then perhaps it is, but you should join a team and learn the basics until you get your sea legs, so then you can go out there and do it on your own.
Yeah. I often, and so when I'm asking questions like how you do, I'm also wondering, like, you say you want to get into real estate. Do you realize that there's different aspects of getting into real estate that you can do? It's not necessarily becoming an agent.
Mm-hmm.
There's different ways you can get into the business without actually directly being licensed or, dealing directly with customers. There's other things that you can do. And I think a lot of people are kind of obsessed with our closing signs and the end result, and they don't know what it takes to get there. And it's highly underestimated what we do, and probably over glamorized, like you said. But they don't realize the late nights, early mornings, the schedules, stuff that we have to go through to maintain, our businesses.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about it enough, and people just think that it's easy. I think the customers think that it's easy. They look at that commission and think, oh, you're getting paid. I've been dealing with your ass for 2 years. I think this is not enough.
You made $1.99 an hour, basically, when you divide that by the number of hours you work.
And what you still have to pay Uncle Sam, excuse me.
Right, you have to pay Uncle Sam, depending on what your contract is. You have to pay your brokerage. So, at the end of the day, if I've been dealing with you for 2 years, that's pennies.
It is.
Especially with your 11 p.m. calls and all of that. So, at the end of the day, I think people underestimate the work that's put in and what we actually do. And behind the scenes with our customers, where we show and talk about the process, we're probably doing 150 other things behind the scenes to get them to the table. So, I think people are over glamorizing. We're posting, our process and, our pictures online and stuff that we do online. They just don't know what it takes to get there. And it's the thing that pops up in their head. Oh, I can do that. Can you?
Yeah.
You want to go to jail? Because that's what, if you don't do it right, you're going to jail.
Right.
So, it's more pressure than what they realize too.
Yeah.
Like it's just not what they think.
Yeah.
And a lot of people see your chapter 30 and didn't see your chapter 1.
Right. Mm-hmm. They're comparing that.
So, chapter 1 through 10 was me crying all the time, figuring out how I'm going to get business, how to get business, making phone calls, which a lot of agents don't want to do, door knocking, what a lot of agents don't want to do. So, a lot of times they don't see the different things that we did in the beginning to get the business, to nurture our clients, or that deal in the beginning that you did wrong, or when you got fired, or, they don't see or they don't care, because I let everybody know this, it's chapter 25, but
it ain't for everybody.
1 through 10 where it was a struggle, and it's never been easy, and it's still not easy. It really isn't. So
no, I think as the years go on, you get more graceful with it, and the experience leads you down your path, but definitely a bumpy ride. Like I got laid off and I had a newborn. So that's how I just pushed myself into it. I was already licensed, but I put my foot down on the pedal. That was my, push, or what motivated my hustle, because I didn't have income. I was laid off with a baby. So, it just all depends on what motivates you as a person. Do you even like dealing with people? Do you even, these are things you have to consider. If you're just looking at the check, or you're looking at, other people's success, thinking you can do something, you're not considering how you're actually going to get there, it's not for you. And especially if you don't like the stuff that we do, because you have to be a people person.
But I don't think that you really get true insight on what you're going to be doing once you become an agent, because it's like, think about yourselves 16, 17, 18 years ago, and what you thought being an agent was versus what it is being an agent. It's very different. When I first started, in my mind, I was like showing houses. I didn't think about the contract part really. I had bought property before, and I read through contracts and I signed them, but I didn't really think about having to know the contracts. So like my first 20 transactions, it's kind of like when you leave the hospital with a baby and you're like, did they really let me leave the hospital with the baby? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like doing your first few transactions are like that too, and not your first 5, probably your first 20, you're just like, are they really letting me write an offer right now? Like, I had training, I had, I've had mentors, but I'm actually doing this on my own. It's a lot. And I don't think, when you look at agents from the perspective of social media or the media in general, you're only looking at the fun part, the ratified contract, the looking at the properties, the signing, the buyer agency or listing agreement or whatever, like the fun part, the closing, but you're not really going into the in-betweens thinking that that's what you're going to have to be doing. Like your client's going to be calling you upset, and you have to figure out how to manage that. The listing agent or the buyer's agent is, crazy or whatever. There's so many variables, the lender, the title company. You have to be very diverse and a multitasker who has great temperament to deal with all these different parties, over and over again.
Definitely. And knowing your contract, that's scary too. When you have a buyer who wants you to read the whole contract for them, I remember them days. So, that's even scarier. So that's why I tell even new agents, read the contract before you're going out there to go see your client. Know your contract. At least study it, because you're going to have somebody, everybody's not like that, but you're going to have somebody that's going to want you to read over and explain that entire contract with them.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's scary as a new agent. Am I telling them the right thing about the contract? So that's why when you do get your license, if you do get your license, You need to learn your craft.
Right.
You need to learn instead of trying to go out and just, yeah, we definitely want you to get clients. That's the goal. But you also need to learn it. You need to learn your contracts, get in classes. Because a lot of them don't even want to go to classes. I don't understand that.
Right.
So what would you ladies say is like when compared to when you first started? I mean, it may be different now, but when you first got in the game, how much time were you spending on a weekly basis? You know, if because the average hour work week is 40 hours a week. Were you spending 40 hours a week, you know, building your business? How long were you spending building your business?
Every day, all day. Really, I was.
If you summed it up, was it 60 hours, 80 hours a week? Like,
let's just say 80 hours a week. You know, because you in your mind, I really wanted it. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, let me think of different ways to get clients. You know, and that's what I did. You know, there was not social media. There was I think it was social media, but it was just MySpace and all.
It wasn't being.
It wasn't like it is now.
Yeah.
You're showing our age, okay? Don't say
you're on point. Sorry, everybody. So you know, it might be, and I don't even know if it's still easier for them to get clients because it's still harder to get clients even with social media now.
I gotta listen. I think it's easier. It's an easier way to get clients. These agents are taking more photo shoots than deals they have. Every time I'm looking up, they're doing a photo shoot, but haven't done no deal. How does the customer who's looking for an agent know that? They just see that, you know, posting and likes equate success. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
It doesn't. So at the end of the day, the customer can't distinguish, okay, I'm going to contact this agent to help me. And a lot of them don't interview. So they just, the first agent that pops up. Well, that's the agent that's posting all day long and don't have no business.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you can't actually, you know, you can't take social media and translate that into a successful business. I think it has to be full circle. I think, you know, you have to still prospect. I think social media is a part of that, but I think a lot of people, you know, claim to fame their success on social media, but really don't have anything going on.
Yeah. So just like for a new agent that wants to get into the business, what would you tell them one thing that they need to do first?
Find their niche. Find your niche on what you want to brand yourself off of or what you want to specialize in. That will help guide you into, you know, something specific that you can actually hone in on and learn. Because the real estate business is broad.
It is.
So I think if you find your niche first, I think that will help you gain clients faster and also help you corner a market and be really specific about the type of customers that you are able to assist seamlessly and then grow off of that.
Right.
I mean, that's what I think.
I think I would say make sure you have the time and the work ethic, you know, to devote really, because, you know, I can remember I was never part-time. I jumped in 100% full-time, and I was part of a team when I first got started. And, you know, I've had absolutely no experience whatsoever, no experience in sales really, because I came from a communications background. So for me, it was like everything was new. The only thing that wasn't new is the fact that I had bought 2 properties, you know, but I had strong work ethic, so I wasn't really worried about that. However, I didn't realize how much time I was going to have to devote, you know, on a weekly basis, because I did come from, and I was young. I mean, I only had 2 years of true work experience on Capitol Hill once I became an agent. However, I was still working more of a 9 to 5 job where some nights I would work later than others. However, I was not working a 60 to 80 hour work week, which ended up being what I was working in the beginning, at least for the first, I would say 3 to 5 years. You know, I'm waking up early morning and I'm showing houses until 9 o'clock at night when that lockbox turned off. And on the weekends, same thing. I'm showing houses all day, or I'm doing open houses. I was fully devoted to it. And I was on a team where I had other agents that were full time, but they were working very part-time hours. They were devoting 20 hours a week, and they were wondering why they weren't being successful at it. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like you can't start out giving 20 hours a week to anything.
Right.
And that's like with new agents on my team, I tell them that all the time. Like, I understand, some people do have to start part-time, but if you think starting part-time and doing 5 hours a week, giving 5 hours a week to this is going to get you anywhere, it's very unlikely. So you have to have that mentality that for the first few years in this business, you're going to have to devote that time to building your business, and you have to have a strong work ethic to do that.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with you, because when I started, I was full-time with the government, and also I always say full-time with real estate, because after work, while even at work, I was doing real estate. And after work, I got off and I already had clients lined up to show. So it just I always wanted to make real estate, wanted to do it full time. So that was always the goal to me. And on the weekends, it was real estate all day until then it was time to go hang with family.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times that and I'm sorry to say this, but the new age, what's the new group here?
Millennial?
It's not millennial.
I'm a millennial, so I know what it
Gen
is.
Z. I think they want it all right now. Instant gratification. And don't want to work for it, And I'm just like, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe what I did was just crazy. I don't know. So but I am here today saying, because of all of the blood and sweat and tears that I put into it, so maybe they don't want to work as hard and they can still get the gratification, but I don't see it. I don't
see it either.
I don't. They just want it right now. And I'm not going to say that it doesn't always happen like that, because sometimes they get it just right away, but that's not everybody's case.
Yeah.
Nothing is handed to you. And if you're expecting handouts, it might not work out well. It just might not work out well. So, the hustle, I think, is it right for you? I guess it depends on the person and what you're willing to put into it. I always say you put in nothing, you get nothing.
So I'm sure you ladies experience the same thing. Like, I often get DMs from prospective new agents or newly licensed agents that are seeking guidance on how to jumpstart their business or what they could be doing different. And, I made a commitment a long time ago that if I can make the time, I make the time to meet with new agents, because I wish I had that early on in my career. And so I often get those DMs, and I generally meet them out for coffee or lunch or what have you. And like next week, I have 2 lunches with newly licensed agents that I don't know. But I feel like it's really important, especially because they are seeking that type of guidance, to mentor them in some capacity. And that might not be like a weekly meeting or what have you, maybe quarterly, maybe biannual, but to give them that type of advice, that type of raw guidance that they need, so they can make a decision on how they're moving forward, if they should continue moving forward. Because a lot of times in this business, a lot of us don't have that guidance. So we have to find out things the hard way. I mean, I always joke that, like, it wasn't until, year 7 that I really understood what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even though I did understand what I was doing, it's just that, certain things require so much repetition for you to feel 100% secure explaining it, or, presenting it, or what have you. And the young agents, I think it's very smart for them to reach out to experienced agent and get our guidance on how they can build their business smarter. Because if I knew like, or if I had someone that was mentoring me like that, 18 years ago, like, who knows? I might be way further along than I am today
Mhm.
in terms of, best practices. Like, I didn't have someone saying, this is this is the best practice. You should go to this class. You should do this. You don't worry about, this type of lead gen. It would have saved me so much time and anxiety.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's why too I say, just like I get calls or messages, DM messages all the time. That's another reason why I did start the team too.
Mhm.
I did want to help. And I love it. I really do, because you're teaching them the right way. But I also want to stress that you get with a good brokerage that helps you out. And, and so if you need any help, and you should be interviewing the broker. You should.
Mhm.
Don't just go with whichever one you want to go with. Ask questions. Find out, do they have classes? Do they have things, training and, other things for you to do so you can learn your craft. And also find out if they even have like a mentorship program.
Right.
They have. I know a lot of brokerages don't, which is fine, but a lot of them do. So instead of, if you can't reach out to somebody, if you don't know somebody, try to get with the brokerage that can help you get there. They might take a little bit of your money in the beginning, but remember, you're learning. You don't have to stay there. I always tell everybody, go with someone where you will have the training. You don't have to stay there. You just want to learn your craft in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's going to take some, and a lot of people don't realize that, it does take a little bit of capital to get into the business.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get in. You have to pay for training. You might get with a brokerage that's going to put you in a training class. It's going to cost. I mean, there is startup costs to getting into real estate.
A lot.
Yeah.
You're going to do it.
In our area, I think the low end of that is at least have $5,000 saved up to get you started.
I strongly agree with that.
Fees are no
you have
joke.
to join the board. You have to join, Central Lock. You have to join the MLS. That right there is $3,000.
And all your licensing fees. And if you're going to be licensed in each state, all of that. If you're going to take the training classes, like you said, depending if you're going with the bigger boys like Ferry and Buffini, then you're going to be paying, heavy training fees for that.
Like, how much are you willing to invest in yourself? Right. Is what is my next question. Yeah. Like, is the hustle right for you? Then the next question is, how much are you willing to invest in yourself? Because it does take a little bit of investment, so that's the part that people are like, kind of like taken away by. They're blown away. Like, oh, it costs money. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And then you have to be able to keep up with maintaining those licenses. So I know some people who have started in the business and they weren't selling anything, and then it just became a bill for them. So then they basically took their license inactive.
Yeah.
It does cost to maintain this career. It's not, you're just one and done. We have to take classes every 2 years to renew. I mean, there's just so many things that we have to maintain throughout the process. And this is some stuff that I teach my gang, because everybody knows that my team is brand new agents, 2 years, 2 years of experience. And I'm helping them, get their business off the ground. Again, this is something that I offer just because I wish I had it. Like you said, Cher, I probably feel like I would be further along if I had somebody there to lead the way. And honestly, I had to feel my way by myself.
Right.
Have somebody that I could call and ask questions. I didn't have the broker that I have now that I could just call at the drop of a dime, So it's a shark eat shark world. People don't want to see people do better than them or be successful. So they're scared that if they help you, you're going to do better than them. That's not my mentality or how I think. Right. So, not everybody thinks like that, but help doesn't come very easy. No. So, that I think that's a misconception too. We're easy to DM and people get in contact with us and we'll set up a lunch with you and be very friendly, but is, the next agent going to do that? Probably not.
Yeah. And I want the hustler For real.
Me too.
I
want
do.
the hard worker.
I want to mentor the hustler. I don't want to mentor the person that wanted. I'm sorry. That's just me. The person that want to sell 1 or 2 deals a year. Sorry. Don't call me. I want the one who really want it. They really want it. You want to sell 1 or 2, even 5 a year? Okay, cool. That's perfect. But I want the one because I know how I was. And I want them to feel what I felt, you know, or and I want to tell them what I went through, and for them to want it like I wanted it. It don't have to be exactly like I wanted it, okay? But I want that when you call me, I want you to want it. So, you know, not just saying, oh.
And I can tell if you want it or not.
Yeah.
My thing is, I open my eyes up at 6 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, trying to get this real estate done. Like, I wake up on 0 every day. I don't care about the deals I sold last year, this year, what number I'm at right now. I wake up every day at 0. What can I do today? What can I get under contract? What clients can I work with? That's my mindset when I wake up in the morning. It's not about what I did yesterday or my 8 deals I closed last week. All of that goes back to 0 every day. So if you're thinking like that, and I'm not saying, you're all work, but I think in the beginning it is that. I think when you're building something, you have to go hard. Yeah. Then you can sit back and enjoy your fruits of your labor. You can go to Turks and Caicos, you can travel. You can do certain things once you've gotten your business off the ground. But when you're working in the beginning and your hustle, it's a straight hustle. I remember nights I didn't even go to sleep. And I'm working from sun up to sundown, trying to, work on this business and see where I can get opportunity. So if you're not thinking like that in the beginning, I can kind of see it and I know whether you're going to hustle or not.
Yeah.
And I think there's an aspect of, a total aspect is that real estate as a career is very unconventional compared to other careers. I think a lot of people, especially when they come from corporate or government, there's a lot of bureaucracy and there's a lot of templates in place for them. And I think for me, real estate was the opposite of that, coming from a government position where it's like, this is what you're doing on a daily basis. It's like you're kind of thrown into the ocean and they're like, figure it out,
Yeah.
And if you have a team that is guiding you, that's awesome, but if you don't, and you're just kind of feeling your way around, then you do have to put some things into place for yourself. Like you should sign up for specific training. You should set aside, office hours. So you're spending the time prospecting and, going to happy hours and putting yourself out there as much as you can. And it's funny because I remember I got into it with my mom years ago, and she's like, I've never seen somebody go to so many happy hours as much. Or are you drinking? I'm doing both. And, because 95% of my business is referrals, it's all about who I'm meeting and who I'm networking with. And if I'm not out there meeting new people and networking with new people, then where am I going to gain my clientele from? So you do have to be willing to put yourself out there. And I think a lot of people don't realize that part of it. Like, if you're not putting yourself out there, then how do people know who you are? And how are they going to know how to use you? Whether that's social media networking, whether that's in-person networking. I mean, I truly believe it has to be a combination of all of those things, but you must be comfortable putting yourself out there.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
I agree.
And it's not just social media, because everybody's doing that too.
Yeah.
So, it just like you said, it's making calls. It's calling family and friends. It's calling past clients. You might have to do it all. People not doing it. Nobody knocked on my door. Why?
Mm-hmm.
If I saw an agent, I'd be like, dang,
that's
excellent.
Old that's old school.
That's what I
learned. That's
and
how
they're not doing it. So, ding everybody, I just gave you an idea. So, but people aren't doing it anymore. Every agent is on social media. So maybe that's not the way to, keep doing your social media because it's perfect. But you're going to have to figure out other ways to get.
What other ways are you?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if you're home and you're sitting at home and doing nothing, then that's another thing. It's crazy because when I'm home and my husband's like, you need to chill. You need to just chill.
I feel like you're being unproductive.
I'm like, I feel like I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
The movies, I hate the
This
movies.
is Mrs. Busybody right here.
I hate the movies because the movies is like, I'm watching a movie, I could be making money.
Email while I'm watching a movie. My husband hates it, but I'll email while I'm watching a movie.
I'm not telling people to be like that. I'm not. I'm just telling you that we have bills to pay. And it's like you trying to figure out. I remember in the beginning, okay, this still closed, but I don't have anything that's closing in November and December. So you always have to be like a month, really 2 months ahead to make sure that you have money for the next month.
Planting seeds. It's all about planting seeds. And I used to work for this lady that when I worked on Capitol Hill, my boss, she went to Princeton. And I studied everything that she did. She's an entrepreneur, this very strong lady. And that's the one thing we have in common, Cher, the working on Capitol Hill. I was a lobbyist for financial services.
Nice.
And I supported her, and what I watched her do is plant a whole bunch of seeds. You know, she would spend, hours just planting a whole bunch of seeds, and then she'd just come back and tend to each seed. And sooner or later, something will sprout. But what she was doing was just putting feelers out there everywhere. And that's how she would cultivate her entrepreneurship. And that's how she would get her, I guess, her momentum going for the year. And I would watch her do this quarterly. So at the beginning of each quarter, she would put these feelers and plant these seeds, and she'd have 1 million seeds going at one time. It's guaranteed that something's going to sprout. But she spent that time prospecting and planting seeds. And that's where I actually learned, you need to be able to multitask and do a bunch of things at one time. Yeah. It's like my client's like, oh, we're closed. You're going to go home and take a nap. I said, no, actually, I got 2 more closings and I got 3 other clients today. They're looking at me like, what? Yeah, like this is, after I give you that key, that's great. Congratulations. We're going to keep in touch, but now I got to go to the next client. Yeah. My day doesn't end with, just you. I've got,
and that's
I've planted plenty of seeds that have sprouted for today, and these are the ones that I'm tending to. And that's but they think once we celebrate, like the day's over.
That's it. No,
baby, I got to go somewhere else after this.
Yeah, that's what we mean the difference from a 9 to 5, and that we're always constantly working. Because if I don't work this month at all, then how am I going to get paid for October, November, December? Yeah. So that's why we're always working. And that's the difference between an entrepreneur and somebody that is working 9 to 5.
So they're going to get paid regardless.
They're going to get paid regardless.
But I used to be in a situation that if I take a couple of days off, that might translate into me like being dead in the water for business for 2 weeks. That no longer happens. Happens now because I've learned to plant the seeds accordingly so that they sprout over months, over time. I might be doing some lead generation or CRM work. These buyers might not be ready to go until next year, but it's planting the seeds ahead of time so that they sprout later, and planning out your month, so that it works out that you have income coming in.
So what would you ladies say are the pros versus the cons of being a realtor?
Pro is endless possibilities.
Meaning financially or?
Meaning financial, meaning time. You can set your own time. You can gain as much money as you want. A con, I would say, is the same thing. is timing, not spending as much time as with family as you want to. Also, a con would be taxes.
We didn't charge your own.
We didn't touch on that. But so I'll let y'all go.
You want to go, Sherry?
Sure. I mean, I definitely agree. Like the flexibility, it's definitely one thing that I thought about, because I knew I wanted a family and everything. I'm like, I don't mind if I have to work really hard if I get to choose the flexibility of my time. So the fact that, I can be a room parent and I can be super involved in my kids' school, or I can go to all their games, or, whatever functions they have going on is really important to me. So I'll take the long hours on various days if I know that I can have the flexibility to do other things. Because in many, corporate jobs or government jobs, you don't have that flexibility. So the flexibility of time is super important to me. I mean, I'm not going to lie, the money is a pro. Once you've mastered your craft and you know what you're doing, it's a lucrative business if you maintain it and continue to grow. Um, and I like the negotiation part of it, like I like the interacting with people and, constantly being kept on my toes and learning new negotiation skills. The cons is the risk, right? It's like we don't get a set paycheck every 2 weeks.
Right.
It's like some months we can make 50 grand, some months we can make 2 grand, or nothing. So it's like there's always that risk there. And I believe like if you have a steady business, the risk goes, lower and lower over time, because it's even at this stage of the game, sometimes I'm having like such great months and then I'll have like a lull in a month and I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I have no more clients next month? And Darren's like, why are you saying that? He's like, you do this all the time. And he's like, you're always doing this. And the fact is, next month people are going to be calling you, and the out of the blue referrals or whatever. And same thing when I got back from our honeymoon, I'm like, I mean, my pipeline is just like all over the place. And then like I was back and I got 3 referrals like the first week I was back. So I was just like, yes, but you just don't know. It's like the lack of not really knowing is it's nerve-wracking sometimes because there's no set amount, are any of you making a definite amount every month? Like mine fluctuates all the time.
Mine does too.
Yeah, definitely.
So I mean, that's definitely the con, it's like, and then on the younger side, like a con is just getting started. So that's why I think like what we were talking about before, finding a mentor or finding a team where you have more experienced agents on the team that can guide you and mentor you is super important, because as I always say to the agents on my team, I'm like, look, I've made so many mistakes. You guys need to make none of these mistakes. It's like, just listen to me because I've made all the mistakes. So just save yourself the time and, focus on these few things and what works for you. And the sky's the limit, like you said, Arnita.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I would have to agree with everything you all said. Obviously, I would say I like the part of being my own boss, even though I'm with a brokerage, but I'm a team lead. I'm running my own, team. I think that is the part that I really love about what I'm doing. Helping others. I've always been the person to reach out and help other people, doing it in different ways, whether it's with my team, my clients, or whatever the case is, my brokerage. I'm a people person, so being an agent does allow me to do that. The flexibility is huge. Like I keep saying, I got into this full time with a newborn, and it was one of those things where I always wanted to have a kid, and it was also one of those things where I always wanted to spend time. My mom was home with us when we were young. She retired when I was 5 years old. So I didn't know what it was like for my parents to be gone, like how my daughter knows, and we're at work, So at the end of the day, my mom cooked breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She was home. She went to all of our sports games, all of that stuff. I still make all of that work being a real estate agent, but it's much tougher. The cost of living is up now. It's not what it was when we were growing up, where the parents could afford to, do certain things and still, but they were still struggling then. But I just think it costs more to live these days, and where you could have retired parents or whatever, or parents where one parent worked and the other one didn't, or a single parent household, it's much tougher to run that now. And I just love the flexibility. Me and my husband are actually both entrepreneurs, so it is tough with the uncertainty and not knowing what we're going to make. But that would be one of the cons, I would say, just the uncertainty and just not knowing what is going to happen, that month. And I hate to be the one to go to him and be like, look, it's bad. It's looking real bad this month. And he's like, where the hell? What we need to pay? Like what, and that's real. And that's real. Because and I'm like, all of my deals fell through and he's looking at me like, what? And that's the reality, and he's looking at his business and he's like, I'm okay this month. So then, I can do this. So that's how we work through it. We just kind of, help each other and supplement each other. And that's just the way we run our household. But that would definitely be a con, just not knowing what the heck is going to happen.
But at the same time, that stimulates you to a certain point.
Yeah, it makes you go work more.
Yeah, it stimulates you when you're doing good.
Yeah.
But even when you're doing bad, it motivates you to like
more.
Yeah, like to keep hustling.
Yeah. And I would say, like, being a real estate agent, as I've gotten more comfortable in my career, I have lost quite a few friends. For whatever reason, they won't tell me why, but they might feel like that I'm super successful and they're not, even though like, you've sat back and been like, this is what I'm going through, and they just see you doing well, but they don't know what you're going through to get there.
Right.
And so they judge you based on that, and then they think that the relationship or the friendship isn't worthy. So I've lost a lot of friends just being jealous, and I'm like, girl, just trust me, there's nothing to be jealous about. I'd be tired. This is what's going on in real life, and you have to kind of state your case so that they don't feel like you've emerged above them.
I've been through that too.
But I've lost friends.
And then they weren't friends. They were acquaintances there for a certain period of time, because your real friends are going to be there through thick and thin.
That's
Definitely.
True. That's
true. That right.
But I will say, I don't know if everybody's gone through that, but I have gone through like family and friends just like really like turning their back on you, whether it's physically, or if they feel like I had a family member that said, "Oh, you're doing well. You don't need me." What do you mean?
Oh, yeah. I just had that happen last week, actually.
Yeah, stuff like that. And I'm just like, what do you mean? Oh, you have a TV show, you have a podcast, you're, making millions of dollars.
That's a whole nother
that is a whole nother show.
What are you talking about? And I'm just
it's a whole nother show. I mean, I literally just had like a family friend say that to me while I was away.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I know my little deal is just, what are you going to make a little $10,000 commission? I know you do $1 million deals. And I'm like, well, first of all, I do all deals.
Exactly.
Right.
And like, why are you counting my money? Whether it's $10,000 commission or $30,000 commission, it still makes up my salary for the year. So Are you here to support me, or you're just here to let me know that you can't support me because I'm doing too well?
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah, that's it.
Bingo.
That's it. And I experienced that quite a bit. And I don't know what cultivates it, but that's my con in this business, because people sit on the outside and judge you, but they don't see what we're going through.
Yeah.
And that part is really hurtful.
Yeah.
And it's hurtful because you're judging and you don't know. Like, I put in a lot of work into this. And I'm trying to be like you. Well, you know what? You can be better than me.
That's what I always say.
You can be better than me.
Yeah.
You can be better than me, at the end of the day. So I don't know. I think that's the part that bothers me the most about being a real estate agent. It's just the judgment that you receive, that you're just so rich and famous and you don't need
Well, that's why we're here, to diffuse all those judgments, because the queens of the DMV are bomb, and we're here to shed light and laughter and happiness on the entire universe.
Definitely.
Yes.
Well, on that note, ladies, we have to wrap it up and sign off today.
So we're glad that hopefully anybody watching this, you can ask yourself, is real estate the right hustle for you? And you can always reach out to us to ask any questions that you might have about being a real estate agent, or if you're in the business, reach out to us about any questions that you might have. But thank you for joining myself, Arnita,
Ariel,
and Cher.
So thank you all for joining the Queens of DMV. As always, follow us on IG at Queens of the DMV and YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And look out for us every Thursday via those three: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Have a good day.
Bye.